looking at the Argentine, Juan Manuel Fangio, the only man who's won 5 World Championships. This afternoon, Michael Schumacher could equal that record. We're poised for a piece of F1 history. Juan Pablo Montoya could ruin the script if he takes his qualifying form into the Grand Prix. And we ask what now for Jenson Button, as Renault say thank you and au revoir. It's round 11 of F1 2002 at the smoothest circuit of them all, Manicourt in Burgundy, home of the French Grand Prix. Hello there, good afternoon. Well, this legendary Ferrari team are currently enjoying the most successful period in their illustrious history. They are literally racing away with the constructors' and drivers' crowns. And if everything goes according to plan, Michael Schumacher will be this year's champion by the time he leaves here this evening. 7 races to go after this one. It's Schumacher's home Grand Prix at Hockenheim. That is next weekend. He starts today 54 points ahead, and if the German wins and neither Barrichello or Montoya finishes second, he is the champ. 4 drivers in a great tussle for the runners-up spot, and Jenson Button's response to Renault, he matched his best qualifying spot of the season. Okay, back in the ITV studio with Tony Jardy. Now, here's Michael Schumacher approaching one of the biggest weekends of his career. And how does he prepare? He kicks around with the likes of you and me for a spot of charity.
I could not believe it. There he is, on the eve potentially of winning the World Championship. He's playing football. The German organisers had a great sense of humour, you saw by the shirts. That was a great challenge by Wirtz. Not quite as good as the challenge that you had on him, which he said too many hands as you slapped him round the face, potentially looking for balance, you said.
Yes, it was just a gentle little cuff, really.
Yeah, he should keep his crash helmet on when he's playing against you, I think.
Well,
Jim?
as if you needed telling, the Germans actually won the tournament as well. On, though, to the serious stuff of the day, and that means Jenson Button. As we warned you all in our qualifying show yesterday, Jenson has been shown the door by Renault. Next year, he's going to be replaced by their test driver, the 21-year-old Spaniard, Fernando Alonso.
A packed press conference heard Renault Vice President Patrick Fourré make the announcement that Button fans have been dreading. Jenson, the team's top point scorer this season, has been controversially dropped for 2003. Spaniard Fernando Alonso will partner Jarno Trulli instead.
We had an extremely difficult choice because we had 3 drivers, Trulli, Alonso and Jenson, and we could only keep 2 for 2003. In fact, what has made our decision is that we are trying to work for 2004, 2005, 2006 for the future. We believe we have in Alonso somebody who is going to be one of the very best drivers in the future.
It's no secret that both Fernando and Jarno have had long-term management contracts with you personally. Is that still the case, and did that have any bearing on this decision?
All the drivers in Renault Group, and the moment I signed the contract with Renault and we put the agreement, all the driver I was in my company is transferring Renault. I mean, I have no interest. Only the interest I have is the driver in my team, and this, yes, I manage, but only because it's in Renault team.
So Button is leaving Renault, but not Formula One. The big question now is whose car will he be driving next year?
I'm pleased to say that Jenson does have a secured contract, and so his future in Formula One is assured. For now, his focus will be with Renault and to help Renault to gain as many points as possible. We will be making a formal press announcement, a press conference during the course of this coming week, together with Jenson's new team.
There's much speculation about who that new team will be. Toyota, Sauber, BAR and Jaguar have all been mooted. Button's a prime catch for somebody.
Whoever gets him will be a very lucky team. My guess is I would probably not go to Toyota just at the moment. He can wait his time. Jaguar or whatever, BAR, I don't know. There's a lot of options open for him, and for sure no one will move until he is signed first. So it'll be an intriguing time. My outside guess, possibly BAR.
Anything can happen in this game, as they've always say, so you just you never know.
Is he the kind of driver that you might be interested in, though?
Clearly, Jenson's a unique talent. He's clearly the best British driver we've got at the moment, the best opportunity for the long term, the future. I'm just taken aback and stunned that Renault would let him go like that.
Alan McNish would be the casualty if Jenson's Toyota bound, but his boss played down that possibility.
For the time being, I have nothing to tell you. I mean, we are looking at the whole situation, and we'll decide in a month or so, but for now, nothing to say.
It's just been announced that Jensen won't be driving at Renault next season. Might you be interested in him?
We could be, I don't know, but I hear rumors say that we have already signed him, and that's not true, definitely not.
All will be revealed soon, but in the meantime, Jensen's focus is firmly on scoring points in today's race, just to remind Renault what they're losing.
OK then, Tony, before we chat about where he might go, what are your feelings about how Renault have treated him?
Well, I don't think he's been treated particularly well. It's difficult to understand, I think, for the general public and even for the majority of international journalists. Hang on, this is a talent. This is the guy in his first year outqualified Michael Schumacher at Spa, albeit in a Williams. The guy has a great natural talent, so why do we need to get rid of him? I spoke to Mike Gascoigne, the technical director of Renault, just before coming into the studio. He said, look, you've got to understand, he's not part of our plans because he's contracted elsewhere during the time when we've aimed to win the World Championship, 204, 205. He said we couldn't possibly go with Jensen. We had to go with Alonso.
So it's the aspect of Williams' contract with him that you think might have influenced Renault's decision?
They have, but I mean, people at Renault UK, for example, must be very upset at losing, a prime asset like that.
Well, the guessing game has already started about where he is going to go. I know the Sunday papers are pretty split down the middle. It's narrowed down, though, to two candidates, to Toyota and British American Racing.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done a lot of digging about Louise, yourself, myself. We've even spoken to David Richards this morning at breakfast time. I mean, Toyota, for example, have big ambitions. They have big Ferrari-style budgets. Long-term, that could be a great bet for Jenson Button. But you saw David Richards there talking about he's a big fan of Jenson Button. He would probably love to get hold of him. Honda going behind BAR potentially next year, it could be a good package for him. But we're still not quite sure which way he's going to go.
There's going to be an announcement within the next couple of days about where he is going. If you ask me now, I would say British American Racing.
Well, I think because of what David Richards was saying this morning, he's quite keen on him. But then again, it depends what's happening with Villeneuve. His contract seems to be concrete. What's happening with Panis? There's a lot of things still up in the air. They could be negotiating as we speak.
And today he races for Renault. It is their home Grand Prix. It'll be a wonderful performance if he managed to get that first podium. He's got a good place on the grid, hasn't he?
He has. He only just missed that podium in Malaysia when the suspension collapsed. He's got a very good car, great traction control here. The Michelin tyres looking quite good. And I think Jensen, who has outraced Trulli so far this year, and he outqualified him here in France.
Listen, if you want to let us know your feelings about Jenson Button, just email us on the ITV F1 website and we'll try and respond to one or two of them after the race in our post-race show. Well, no matter when he wins another world title, we mustn't forget we are watching a driving magician in the shape of Michael Schumacher. 7 wins out of 10 so far this season, and we're still counting.
You know what's coming, don't you? Montoya blocks. Michael Schumacher is alongside him. Side by side out of turn 2, and Schumacher is through into the lead. And Michael Schumacher has done the business. Who's got the lead? It's Michael Schumacher.
No, and he's touched. Montoya's lost his front wing.
Michael Schumacher putting in fastest lap after fastest lap. This is what he's really good at, isn't it? Michael Schumacher, the winner, as if we needed reminding. Schumacher carving his way through the back markers. He's in a different race from the rest. Ferrari making it look easy at Imola.
Waving to the crowd, look, as he comes through those final 2 corners. And you don't often see Michael Schumacher doing that.
He can afford to, because Michael Schumacher wins yet again. Rubens Barrichello comes through. He's not going to let Michael through, is he? Yes, he is! I do not believe it! That is outrageous. Michael Schumacher claims Ferrari's 150th Grand Prix victory, his 6th of the season. And now at Silverstone, go!
Michael get the drive round the outside. Will Montoya give him any space? He has given him the space, but says that's enough. You didn't make it, I'm closing it.
Michael Schumacher leads the British Grand Prix.
Nothing Montoya could do.
This is going to be win number 7 of an amazing season for Michael Schumacher, a giant leap closer to his world title dream. Michael Schumacher wins the British Grand Prix. Rock and roll in Silverstone.
Michael Schumacher victorious at Silverstone. He has won the French Grand Prix 5 times. Do you think this is the day when he wins the title?
I think it's going to be very, very tough for him to win. I think Juan Pablo Montoya is going to be very, very strong indeed. We could still see McLaren strong in race trim as well. I actually secretly think that Michael Schumacher would love to win at home at Hockenheim next week in front of his fans. But he said, look, I want to get this championship off our backs, get it over with. We come to Magny-Cours to win.
Yeah, let's just check the list of all-time world champions. And Michael Schumacher, as we said, there's Fangio up there with all those titles in the 50s, and Schumacher and Alain Prost in second place, Tony, in that group on 3 world titles: Brabham, Stewart, Lauda, Piquet and Senna.
If Schumacher does clinch the title today, it will be the fastest ever winning of the World Championship title. In percentage terms, that will be 64%. But you look at him, he has not failed to finish since Hockenheim last year. It's an incredible record by the whole team, by Schumacher's driving. 7 out of 10 wins so far. I mean, it goes on, doesn't it?
He's due a breakdown, isn't he?
Yes. Maybe something go wrong with his fuel rig system today. I walked past there before, chucked down a couple of magnets. It'll be all right.
We'll see. Well, then a win might not be good enough for Michael Schumacher. Second place could do it, but it's very, very unlikely indeed. But when you listen to Michael Schumacher, you get the impression that the man wants to get the job done and soon.
I don't like this situation because everybody is talking like it is basically done, and I know it's not done. So I would like to get over it and get it done.
He wants to get it done. We're now going to look back at the qualifying session. But in fact, before it, Tony, we've got to look at what I believe is the worst crash of the season that meant that Giancarlo Fisichella and the Jordan doesn't run today and might indeed not run next weekend either.
Yeah, running outside the Grand Courbe over 160 miles per hour. You see the wing break off there and go underneath the car. He loses steerage, goes head on in. Huge, huge deceleration, huge impact. Look how woozy he is. He's very, very difficult for him. Now, Gary Anderson, technical director, thinks that the wing may have been scraped on a curb earlier in the lap, forcing it to come off there, and you can see the wheel going up there. No steering, that's it, straight in. Very, very lucky boy indeed. The belts would have been stretched by about 12%. And of course, you can imagine the brain moving inside and all the body parts. It's a huge, huge crash.
70-mile-an-hour impact. Apparently, Fisichella had a bit of trouble not only remembering the crash, but remembering where he was racing. And very, very wisely, the doctor, Sid Watkins, said, you don't race today, and I want a long look at you before next weekend.
And also, there is a question mark as to whether he will race in Hockenheim at all, which is why Eddie Jordan last night was making moves to get Heinz-Harald Frentzen into the car. The rest of the teams didn't agree to that. They didn't sign to it, nor did Frentzen, by the way, because he's still in dispute with Eddie, having been sacked here last year.
Sure, and Frentzen has gone home to Monte Carlo, so no Fisichella in the French Grand Prix, and no arrows either. They made a brief appearance. Just explain this to us, Tony.
Well, what you have to do is to remain with your Formula One ticket and part of the scene and part of the prize money. Not only qualify the cars, get the cars scrutinised, or attempt to qualify. That's what Tom did. But in the meantime, for whatever his motives were, his reasons were, they were outside the 107% rule, while they continue to negotiate the team's future, and hopefully they'll be back for Hockenheim next weekend.
Tom being the Arrows boss, Tom Walkinshaw, when the session started, Montoya chasing his 5th successive pole, and he laid down the early standard.
Well, he thinks that it is his best qualifying performance yet. And certainly Michelin have stepped up to the plate here and done a great job with their tyres. As Juan Pablo says now, I've learned that you don't have to drive 100% all the time. You know, you can mix and match and measure it, and his qualifying game is superb.
Rubens Barrichello really has been pushing Michael Schumacher very, very hard, particularly in qualifying sessions.
He pushed as hard as he could, Jim, but, you know, he had problems all yesterday morning getting the balance of the car right. That's quite unusual for Rubens, particularly on a circuit where here he's had a string of third places, he's had a pole position here. Remember, he figured in that great dice in '99 in the wet against Frentzen. Superb drive. Hopefully he's got the car all sorted out from third place in the race.
It was a terrific qualifying session. There were no gaps in it, and it built up to a great climax between the big two, Michael Schumacher and Montoya, in overtime.
Ralf Schumacher came out first. and then Montoya came out, and then Michael Schumacher came out, and we had this great sort of battle of the billiard table, this very, very smooth circuit to see who was best. What a shootout it was. There was Michael up, and he didn't just quite do it. Second place, 23 hundredths of a second separating Montoya and Schumacher at the end. What was great about it is that both drivers really, really loved the challenge, really enjoyed the contest. Great battle.
It was the blink of an eye, about that much over the whole lap, I guess, Tony. So 19 go, then in the French Grand Prix, you just chat us through the grid.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, this is his 5th consecutive pole position. He's done a great job, as you know, but the thing is, he's put it together consistently. He said, I don't think that we can beat Ferrari, but we did. Now he's got to beat them in the race, because alongside him is Michael Schumacher in second place. And of course, Michael Schumacher, traditionally, in the last 5-6 races, has not won from the front. So don't really need the pole positions as well. So tremendous pole position from Juan Pablo Montoya. Then Kimi Räikkönen as well. He's got his best ever place in 4th position. But Ralf Schumacher was very angry indeed, because he had lost his setup and he couldn't get through the last corner as well. And 6th place is David Coulthard, and 7th place is Jenson Button. So he's ahead of Trulli as well. So it's important that you look at this. There's Schumacher alongside him on the front row. Barrichello, as I said, with that lack of balance in 3rd position, and the best for Kimi Räikkönen. Ralf Schumacher very, very angry and made a mistake in the last corner, and David Coulthard said he couldn't attack because of oversteer. Button and Trulli alongside each other, but Button making a point there. Irvine in the top 10 for Jaguar, a great part played in that by Michelin. And then we have Panis using development engine from Honda, Massa alongside him, Villeneuve also using the Honda development engine, Sato the only representative from Jordan there. De La Rosa had hydraulic problems, traction problems for Sato. McNish was very disappointed. Webber in 18th place in the Minardi. And the last runner there, 19, just 19 going, Alex Young, and no arrows and no Fisichella.
I think the tires seem to be a lot more consistent than normal. I think we're still lacking a bit of pace, but we'll see. We'll do the best of what we got.
Enjoyable session?
It was very exciting. Fighting with Michael, and to the last minute, it's good.
Michael, you've started behind the Williams before, but beaten them in the race. Are you expecting the same again tomorrow?
We will try. We don't expect anything.
Is it going to be tougher than it has been at the past couple of races, do you think? Michelin seems to be up there a bit more.
No, if you look at the difference between now, here and Silverstone, I think it's about the same.
I guess you're hoping for another Ferrari 1-2 tomorrow.
I hope so. I hope we have a good chance. I mean, it's going to be a difficult one. It's going to be a much closer one. And I hope it's a much more enjoyable one as well.
They really thought that this track, it's quite smooth and high-speed nature, that maybe Ferrari would be able to open up a bit of a gap, or Williams would be able to stretch their legs a little bit. But that hasn't been the case. So that would indicate that we should be a little bit closer in race trim. But I still think that Ferrari will be very strong in the race itself.
It was a tough Silverstone for me, and it's good to get back up there in amongst, and hopefully we can do something tomorrow from 7th. I mean, it's a good position. I think it's my best this year, so yeah.
It's going to be very tough, but at least from 9th, and if we're a bit lucky we can get a point. But it's nice to be at least back at the front and be able to see the lights.
You can see the lights is his best starting position in 20 races. The noise you've been hearing behind us, they always entertain us here at Manicourt. The Mirage jets from the French Air Force. The race due off in half an hour. Just going back a couple of weeks to a compelling British Grand Prix, one feature was the number of pit stops, 48 in all, and 1 or 2 people had trouble getting fuel in their motors. This from Ted Kravitz.
Well, we saw how important fuel rigs were at Silverstone and how they can often go wrong. We had a lot of emails asking exactly what does happen with them. This one's from John Savage in Essex. He asks, why is it so difficult for the teams to get fuel rigs onto the car? Is it a complicated process or just human error? Well, John, to answer your question, it's a little bit of both. These things are extremely complicated, and we've come up with a nice graphic to explain exactly how they work.
The fuel rigs are pumping petrol into the car under pressure, so safety is paramount. It's only until the nozzle is locked onto the car that the whole process can begin. The blue arrows show the air coming out of the car's tank through an outer tube. When everything is connected, the valve within the nozzle opens and the petrol gets pumped in. Once the right amount is in, the mechanic pulls the inner handle out to stop the fuel flow, and then the outer handle to disconnect. There's a lot happening in the space of a few seconds, so it's impressive that the whole thing works at all.
And as for human error, the biggest problem is getting this nozzle square onto the car. It's a very heavy thing, and if the driver comes in too quick or the mechanics move around a bit, you're in trouble. And this is why. There are 3 catches here, and they all have to be in position to get onto the car. If they're not, you only press 2 of them at the same time, you're in trouble. No fuel will flow. But here we go, press 3 at the same time, bang! It locks on, the fuel goes in.
The problems that Williams had at Silverstone were partly down to human error. It's a high-pressure situation, and there isn't a team in the pit lane who hasn't had a race ruined by a bad pit stop. So what happened this time?
It was a mechanical problem with the nozzle. And we changed the second rig, and it had the same problem. We took both the rigs testing last week, sorted that out. We did over 30 pit stops, made sure that we wouldn't have a problem again. When you put the nozzle on, there's a chance that when you hit the nozzle not in the right place, it doesn't cock properly, and you need to bring the nozzle off and recock it again. So it was related to that.
If that's all not complicated enough, the whole process is run by computers, and they also go wrong. This is the program they use. The engineers enter the amount of fuel they want in kilograms here on the right. The rig pumps it in at the rate of 12 litres per second, and this is how long the stop is taking, 7.7 seconds, just right for a 2-stop strategy.
Well, at Silverstone, everything worked out fine for British-American racing, and they were absolutely overjoyed when Jacques Villeneuve and Olivier Panis finished 4th and 5th for their first points of the season. In our post-race show, we told you about one team member, Chief Mechanic Alistair Gibson, with a real dilemma because his wife Carolyn was in the late stages of pregnancy. Baby William Alistair arrived actually in the early hours of Tuesday morning at Banbury Hospital. 7 pounds 10 ounces, and both baby and mum doing very well indeed. Alistair back at work for BAR here this weekend. Mika Häkkinen, well, I think there's going to be an announcement actually from McLaren next weekend at Hockenheim that will say Mika Häkkinen's not coming back. We'll wait and see when our coverage next weekend for that. But talking about British-American racing, expect to see a fair amount of Olivier Panis this afternoon, the only French driver in action. He's out-qualified his teammate Jacques Villeneuve. We're going to check now on his credentials in the kitchen alongside a master craftsman. Here's Lou.
Come to Le Petit Blanc in Oxford to meet the restaurant's owner, Raymond Blanc, who, as well as being a famous French chef, is also a mad keen Formula One enthusiast. Now, they say that all Frenchmen are good in the kitchen. Well, today we're going to find out, because we've brought Olivier Panis along with us for a cookery lesson.
Okay, we have 3 dishes here, and the first one is a fricassee of wild mushrooms, the second one is a risotto, and the third one is summer berries, a compote of summer berries. We're going to start by the dish which takes the longest, right? This one, risotto. Okay, first thing we do is to wash the risotto. Is to remove the starch, okay, around the rice. We want to get rid of that, eh?
Okay.
Otherwise the rice would be too thick,
all right,
too stodgy. Whoa! It's the jus of the tomato. That's the heart of the tomato.
This is one race you'll never win.
So you're sweating them, okay? You're softening them.
It's burned my hand. Is normal? Yeah. Okay.
It's absolutely normal.
Okay.
The shallots are ready. We're going to put a bit of garlic, a bit of rosemary. Now we're going to add the rice. Go ahead. Voilà. Okay. Très bien. And then you're going to stir.
Do you do much cooking at home, Olivier?
Not like this. Yeah, sometime. I like it, to be honest. I really want to learn.
You come to the right place for
with
that.
Raymond, it's a little bit hard, but yeah.
You've got to look after your students,
Thank you.
Voilà, très bien.
Wow. It's warm, huh?
You thought racing a car was hard work.
Parfait, excellent. So then we take that lovely essence of tomato and you go ahead. And then, yes, you have to sweat.
Okay, I sweat.
Yeah. So now, once that is cooking nicely,
yeah,
we are going to do another dish. Okay, so dessert. Voilà, now we're going to do the crumble. The idea is to crumble it, not to put it together. Use your 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
Your 2 hands are better. Voilà. Voilà. Okay, raspberry, boom. You can put anything you want. few strawberries.
We can't smell anything burning from the restaurant yet, no?
Not yet, no.
What's the cookie?
Nice, I wait for the scrambler.
Okay. Now, simple. Fricassee wild mushrooms. We've got the shallots here. We're going to do here. We've got the wild mushrooms here. We are going to prepare them, okay? Make sure they are cut the same size, so they cook at the same time. We have some more girolles, please. Turn around. Sweat them in the butter. The butter will bring the flavor up without breaking them up, being very gentle, caring, okay? Salt, establish the base. Voilà, très bien. Allez, pepper. Très bien, now we add the wine, okay? Voilà, très bien. Just to give the acidity. Quick boil. And then, after, tomatoes. Wow, lovely. And then to finish, take your parsley, okay, in here as well. And taste those flavors. Okay, now we are ready to serve.
Oh, let's get the chef.
Oh, the chef's here.
Let's get the chef.
Well done. You're welcome. Aren't you worried that when you go home now, your wife's going to make you do all the cooking?
Now it's very difficult for me. I go back home now because she said, yeah, you need to prepare for me.
I'll write to her and tell her what a great cook you are.
I think we'll drink to that when we come home.
Certainly. Can I send David next week?
So you think you might take this up for a living then, when you finish racing?
Difficult to say now because I'm not finished racing, but we see after.
Okay.
We see after.
It's very much gentil. Merci.
Very, very good indeed. Well done.
Thank you, Dave.
Be our boss Dave, wife Karen Richards getting the benefit of Olivier's efforts with the pans. By the way, the recipes for all those dishes are served up on the ITV F1 website. It is time now for us to drive Manicure. They're expecting a crowd of over 100,000. Sometimes feels like we're in the middle of nowhere. It's very rural indeed. We have seen dramatic races here. Martin Brundle on board, the BMW Williams, and today's pole sitter, Juan Pablo Montoya.
Watch him take a very wide line in the final corner to get a good straight run over the start-finish line, up to 170 miles an hour for turn 1. No need to lift the throttle. And then it gets very narrow into Estoril corner. Now you've got to choose a point to hit the throttle. And it's now. Let the car run towards the outside and take as straight a line as possible to be on the left-hand side, heading in to the Adelaide hairpin. 185 miles an hour. Look for the brake marker boards on the left. Bang! Hit the middle pedal. Now touch the apex on the inside. Hit the throttle immediately and let the traction control do its work. Building up to 170 miles an hour this time. Montoya pre-selecting with his left hand. He knows which gear he wants for the Nürburgring chicane. Briefly up to 155 miles an hour before coming down to second gear, and just 45, hugging the inside of the corner. Straight line the chicane on the exit. It's a full acceleration zone up to 180 miles an hour. Be on the left-hand side for the unsighted Imola. 135 through the middle of the corner. Switch immediately to the left for Chateau d'Eau. Montoya turning in quite early, has to wait to get on the power. He'll add 100 miles an hour to his speed in this short straight down to the final chicane. 70, mind the high curbs, and a quick jab of the throttle before Lycée, the final corner. Be patient. Now drive over the curb on the outside for a good traction into the pit straight. Montoya really on it for his 5th consecutive pole.
Well, we gave you the chance to experience a ride like that in our British Grand Prix coverage. Here's the result and another competition. Remember, we offered you the chance to join Damon Hill in the two-seater European Minardi at the fantastic Thunder in the Park event at Donington in 3 weeks' time. We wanted to know when Damon won the World Championship. The answer, 1996. Our winner, it's Derek Sadler from Hertfordshire. The other winners of the pairs of tickets will be contacted soon. And Derek says winning the competition is a dream come true. Now, another competition for you, courtesy of Michelin. A great chance as well for you and a friend to travel to Jerez in Spain in October to take part in the Michelin driving experience. Flights and accommodation all included. We want to know who won the last Formula One Grand Prix to be held at Jerez in 1997. Was it A, Mika Häkkinen, B, Jacques Villeneuve, or C, Michael Schumacher? A, Häkkinen, B, Villeneuve, C, Michael Schumacher. Enter via the ITV F1 website or by calling 09065 899 199. 09065 899 199. The lines close midnight on Wednesday. Certain restrictions do apply. Check all the terms and conditions on the website, and the best of luck to you all. Let's have another word now with Olivier Panis. He has moved from La Cuisine down to the grid, and he's talking to Ted Kravitz.
Well, Olivier, we've just seen you cooking, and I think you burnt your hand. Is it still burnt? Can you drive? Is it all right?
To drive is all right, but I'm sure when I'm cooking, I'm very impressed by that. But because it's so warm, I mean, it's unbelievable. But it's good fun this time. But I'm okay now.
Look like a lovely risotto you make.
Yeah, apparently it's really good.
But you've out-qualified your teammate Jacques Villeneuve this weekend. It's looking really good for the race.
Well, it's still good. I mean, we have a good fight with Jacques all the time. I mean, we're very close all the time. This is quite good to start 11. It's not too bad position to maybe mark some point.
Thanks very much. Good luck.
Point scorer at Silverstone, Olivier Panis, the only Frenchman in action in the French Grand Prix this afternoon. Next, we're going to be right down there in the thick of it. We're going to go grid walking with Martin. You're back with the ITV F1 team at Manicourt. 25 degrees the temperature. Well, 2 stops is very much the accepted way to go round here. Last year Ferrari got Rubens Barrichello on the podium and they stopped 3 times.
Well, according to the computer simulations, a 3-stop strategy is actually quicker by about 10 seconds around Manicourt. Why? Well, it's a very short pit lane, and also the pit entrance is extremely quick. It's only marginally slower than going around the last corner itself. Now, will we see anyone on 3 stops? I don't think so. It's a bit too risky if you come out into traffic. Instead, I think we'll see most people go for the 2 stops. But watch out for Ferrari. If they don't manage to get past Montoya at the start, they'll wait until those first stops and win it just like they did with Michael Schumacher last year.
Let's take a check on what's happening with the Jordan team. Remember we told you earlier on that Giancarlo Fisichella unable to race today after a very high-speed crash in practice yesterday morning, and Fisichella doubtful for next weekend's race at Hockenheim as well. Eddie Jordan, the team boss, has got the very latest situation. Here he is talking to Louise.
Eddie, I know you were trying very hard to get Heinz-Harald Frentzen into your second car today. How close did you come?
Well, he was at the gateway almost back here. There was some very late little problems and trying to get lawyers to agree on certain things, not from the Jordan side, but I think from Heinz's situation, and making sure that he was properly released in a proper fashion from Arrows. It's not a question of any blame. Everyone did absolutely the maximum. We were desperately keen to have a second car in the race, and Heinz, of course, having won here 3 years ago for us, he was the natural choice.
What's the latest news on Giancarlo's condition? Is he going to be fit for Hockenheim?
We spoke to him this morning and the news is very good. The prognosis is that he will rest in his home in Rome for the next 2-3 days. He has just a little bit of stiffness in his neck. It's what you would expect with an accident the size of what he had, and really it's a miracle that he's around talking at all, but he will be back, I'm quite certain, for Hockenheim.
Thanks, Eddie.
And we will welcome him back next weekend. Let's go down there on the grid and join Martin Brundle. I think, Martin, you're pretty close to Messrs Irvine and Button, aren't you?
Yeah, right in between the two of them. Jensen's not on the grid at the moment. I'd really like to know what's in his mind today. Is he driving for himself now that the team have unceremoniously booted him out for next season? Just had Flavio Briatore moaning at me that I said he was unfair, he should have got rid of Trulli and not Button. I wanted to have a quick word with Eddie Irvine and see what he's up to today. Eddie, great qualifying. No, oh Christ, we can't go all that way back there, you know. Great qualifying, even better warm-up. Is this the renaissance of Jaguar?
It could be, you know. We still have some big issues with this car, but we've definitely made steps forward, and this is where we deserve to be this weekend. Michelin have obviously given us a bit of an advantage, but Magny-Cours is a strange circuit, so you always got to be a bit careful.
So you got a decent chance of some points today, though, yeah?
For sure. When you're in the top 10 at the start, you can get points, and I think the Michelin tyres are going to be good, and the car is handling so much better than it has done all year, so we've got potential to do something, hopefully.
Good luck. See you later. Now, I've got a bit of ground to cover today because there's a man I want to go and find a little bit away. Let me just set the scene. Michael Schumacher's arrived on the grid very, very late, extremely late, even by his standards. He's in the spare car because he preferred the handling on the outlaps. Now, that amazes me because you really can't push and understand a car totally. And clouded covers come over. It's a lot cooler than we anticipated it was going to be. They will be changing the cars on the grid, I think, to try to compensate for the lack of grip. Now, people say to me, occasionally, which is very nice of them, we really enjoy your pit walk. Well, I don't actually walk down the pit. I walk down the grid. The pit lane, and the paddock is the other side where the trucks are parked. But there's one man who we never see on the grid, who is always back here in the pit lane and in the garages, Sir Frank Williams, and I'm hoping I'm going to find him. Is Frank around yet? Frank hasn't turned up yet. That's good. So there's only 5 million of you looking over my shoulder, and we can't find Frank. Well, this is the paddock. Is he here? Yeah, I know he was supposed to be here. All right. Well, we'll just head back and find somebody else then. Right. No. We may have found him. You're really in the heart. There's a big cable there. You're really in the heart of the Williams garage here, so you're seeing it the way that it is. And here is Frank. Sorry, Frank, we had a bit of a job to find you. They were hiding you away. How are you doing?
Just fine standing up here. All the cars seem fine on the grid. We know what we're doing for strategy. Looking forward to a good fight.
Montoya on pole. You must be super impressed with that 5 consecutive poles. He's getting the job done, isn't he?
He's getting the job done. In the races, we need more delivery. It's hard work beating Ferrari, but we feel to be a strong challenger today.
And Ralph, are you probably a bit disappointed, conversely?
We're all disappointed, including him, being on the third row. But Ralph is a very experienced driver and a very determined one and good at overtaking.
Okay, now Frank, you could be on the grid if you wanted to be, but you choose to stay back here. What is your role in the race? Is your work done now come race day, or can you overrule the pit wall?
Patrick and I can overrule the pit wall if we think so, but it almost never happens, maybe once in 2 seasons. My role at Grand Prix is principally political and commercial. Formula One is mainly engineering, and I'm not one of them.
Okay, so you'll tend to just read the race rather than actively be involved at this stage?
That is absolutely correct, yes.
Do you have a strong view on the Jenson Button situation coming from Renault? Obviously that's of great importance to our British viewers here.
His strong view here is that whoever gets it will be very lucky in getting a fine young man.
Okay, thank you for that, Frank. I've got to go back to the studio. Thanks for giving us the time. Back to you, Jim.
Well, Martin, thanks to Frank Williams. Of course, there is one. Pablo Montoya, his man, very much on pole position. Michael Schumacher in the spare, we have just discovered. Can he become the first modern driver to win the World Championship before the end of July? There could just be a bit of history in the making round the corner at the French Grand Prix.
Michelin, more than a tyre, it's a team committed to high performance for the drivers, for you, every day.